guys. How are you all? Thank you guys for being here. This is late night for us. We are usually not live this late, but tomorrow I have a really busy day. We have the fall festival, and I wanted us to get to look at these documents together. So we're going to try to hang in here for at least an hour or so, get through as much as we can. They are like around 60 pages. I've scanned through it somewhat. It is late for us. But I did go back to sleep today after the kids went to school until about noon. So I think that it's the perfect night for us to do this. Now, the Lindsay Clancy case, we talked about this months ago. So I don't know if you guys were here at the time or not, but many people have been wanting updates. So Lindsay Clancy, she had a husband named Patrick. She took the lives of their 3 children and threw herself out the window. She paralyzed herself. There was a lot of talk about her postpartum depression. She did seek help for that. So we're going to go through the search warrants and the paperwork with that. And yeah. So let me say hello to you guys, though. Hey, Salmonella. Hey, Cray Cray. Hey, Nana Banana. Kate Kate. Hey, Heather Brat. Teacup Kraken. Good to see you. Hey, Adrian. It is so sad. Delana. Neat Noodle. 22 Tantrums. Delana. Whoo, girl. Hey, Kristen. Never catch live, so I'm grateful for this one. I'm so glad that you're here, too. Hey, Midwest Meemaw. Anybody that I missed, good to see you guys. Hey, Pointer Lover, thank you for being here. Hey, Susan. Hey, West Virginia Mama. So we're going to dig right into this. I'm going to tell you guys, I've read through it, but not every word. I scanned through it, and I am certain that it's probably going to be pretty disturbing. These were babies, absolutely beautiful, precious babies. And yeah, so yeah, F her, Cray Cray. Well, I don't know. See, I go back and forth with this one, to be honest with you, because there was a long history of her trying to get help. Hey, Kaylin. Hey, Emily. Okay, so let me go ahead and jump right into it since it's pretty late and we have a lot to look at. So, this says search warrant. I won't read every single word. I don't want to waste your time. And I will actually, let me go ahead and link them in the chat now if anybody wants to pull them up, or if you want to look at them later. I feel like this one is legit mental illness. Hey, Patricia. Big prayers and love. Oh, 22 Tantrum. I just seen some about that. I was actually on panel with my friend Teresa and Amber. I'm going to drop their links in the chat if you haven't checked them out. I do too, honestly. Wow. Okay. So there's a lot of you guys who feel that way. Amber. And then the Acrobat link is the documents. Hey, Rachel. Okay. So I won't be able to see chat as we go through these, but I will come back to check in. Okay, so this is a search warrant from to the sheriffs of our several counties or their deputies. Proof by affidavit, which is hereby incorporated by reference, has been made this day, and I find there is probable cause to believe that the property described below is evidence of a crime or is evidence of criminal activity, specifically murder. This says there was one tablet with a blue case with the visible model number. It was located on the kitchen counter near the sink. One tablet with the blue case. Hold on, you guys. So they are looking for data evidencing the identity of the person owning the tablet, data evidencing communications between Lindsay Clancy and contacts and or chat groups regarding Lindsay's state of mind, data evidencing Lindsay Clancy's whereabouts on January 24th, 2023, including but not limited to data evidencing Lindsay Clancy's locations during that time. Data evidencing communications with Lindsay and others known and unknown, which may have contained information regarding the murders, strangulations, and the assault and batteries with a dangerous weapon of Cora Clancy, born on Christmas Eve of 2017, Dawson, who was born on September 30th of 2019, and Callan, who was born May 26th of 2022, and the attempted suicide of Lindsay Clancy, born August 11th of 1990. They are looking for any communications relative to the murders, strangulations, and the assault and batteries with a dangerous weapon of Cora Clancy, Dawson, and Callan. Any and all data relative to or related to the murder, strangulations, and assault and batteries with a dangerous weapon of them, and all data related to the murder, strangulations of Cora, Dawson, Callan, attempted suicide of Lindsay. This data would include all communications as well as information such as phone locations, videos, photos, notes, internet searches, social media that will demonstrate she planned her attempted suicide or the murders of the kids. This information would also comprise premeditation of the murder against Lindsay Clancy as a consciousness of guilt. Hey, Corey. Hey, Tony. Hey, Astro from space. Good to see you guys. Okay, so this was written by Daniel Lawler on March the 9th. He says, I am a trooper with the Massachusetts State Police and have so been employed since my graduation in January of 2018 from the State Police Academy. I've been assigned to Plymouth County's DA's office, State Police Detective Unit, since March of 2021. He basically lists all of his experience. He holds a bachelor's degree. He's worked in as an emergency management specialist. Excuse me. He has lots of experience. Okay, we're not going to read through every bit of that because there's a lot here. And like I said, I'll continuously drop the link so that you guys can grab it. So based on the information hereinafter related as a result of my own investigative efforts and those of the other investigators involved in this investigation, I believe that probable cause exists that Cora, Dawson, and Callan were the victims of the crimes of murder, a violation of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 265, Section 1, strangulation, a violation of General Law 265, Chapter 15D, 3 counts, and assault and battery with a dangerous weapon. This occurred on January 24th of 2023 in the town of Duxbury, and evidence of the crime will be located within one tablet with a blue case with a visible model number of K72LL4. This tablet with the blue case was found on the kitchen counter near the sink at the residence as a result of the search warrant, which was done on Wednesday, January the 25th. The evidence sought is any and all data relative to or related to murder, strangulation, and assault and battery with a dangerous weapon of the children, as well as information that may lead to her state of mind in the form of premeditation leading up to and during the homicides in the form of internet searches, websites, internet chat groups, apps, in addition to chat group applications such as Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, Kik, Discord, among others, as well as text messages or notes. This would be data to include all communications, as well as information such as phone locations and things like that. The information would also compromise premeditation of the murder against Lindsay as consciousness of guilt. The affidavit is being submitted for a tablet with a purple case with the visible number K72LL4. I have not included each and every fact known to me concerning this investigation. The foregoing facts are based on my personal participation in this investigation, as well as other law enforcement personnel participation in this investigation. This includes, but is not limited to, firsthand observations, interviews with participants in the events set forth in this statement of probable cause, as well as conversations with other law enforcement personnel. The following facts establish probable cause for my request to the court for the issuance of a search warrant authorizing the forensic search of this tablet. So the following is a summation of events and is not meant to include every possible fact known to investigators at that time. The basis that probable cause exists justifying this search warrant is as follows. So again, in these documents, they're not going to put every detail. Oh, absolutely, K-Brace. Hey, Pinche Becky. Hey, Lynn. Hey, Abella. It's good to see you guys. Hey, Pass. Thank you guys for being here. That is a pretty name. I was on one of the meds she was on. We just started, Baby D. We're about to get into the investigator's summation of facts, that the reason why he wants probable cause. And we're going to see this from a few different officers. If I remember correctly, I just had a minute to look over it. Okay. Y'all should see me right now. I'm outside in this giant hoodie blanket. This is like a sleepover. Here, let me turn this on for a minute. See? Hello. It's so comfy, though. Okay. Oh, Bieber, good to see you. I love you so big. Thanks for stopping by. I'm so thankful that you guys are here, even if you haven't went through this case. I'm curious how many of you guys already know about it. I know many people wanted an update. Like, this was very big for a short period of time, and then it just kind of got silent. So I was really excited to see this. So on Tuesday, January 24th, at approximately 1811, Duxbury Police Dispatch radioed all cruisers to respond to 47 Summer Street in the town of Duxbury for an attempted suicide where the wife, who was positively identified as Lindsay Clancy, had cut her wrist and neck and jumped out of the window from the second floor. Duxbury Police responded to 47 Summer Street and located Miss Clancy on the ground on the left side of her house. Located with Miss Clancy was her husband and the 911 caller, Patrick Clancy. As Duxbury police officers were assessing Miss Clancy, Mr. Clancy entered the home to check on his children. Oh, God. Hold on, I'm sorry. I don't know what I did there. To check on his children. Duxbury Police Dispatch radioed to officers that the husband, Mr. Clancy, was in the basement and something was wrong because his children would not wake up. Excuse me, you guys. Yeah, Kaylin. Yeah, she did. Duxbury officers then heard extremely loud yelling and entered the home responding to the basement. In the basement, police officers located Mr. Clancy and the family's 3 children, a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and an 8-month-old. They were all located in different areas of the basement floor. So they heard extremely loud yelling. My God Almighty. Hey, Katie. Hey, Grace. Good to see you guys. So the babies were all located in different areas of the basement on the floor, not breathing and unresponsive. All 3 children were transported by EMS to Beth Israel Plymouth Hospital, where Clara Clancy and Dawson were both pronounced deceased. Miss Clancy was transported by EMS to the hospital in Weymouth. Callan Clancy was med-flighted to a children's hospital in Boston. Police then secured the residence of 47 Summer Street. On Tuesday, January 24th at approximately 7:29, Trooper Rabbit arrived at the emergency department of Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital. Trooper Rabbit was met by Duxbury Police Department officer Joseph Polini. Cora Clancy was located in exam room 3, and Dawson Clancy was located in trauma 1. Callan Clancy was located in trauma 2. However, he was med-flighted to Boston's Children's Hospital shortly after Trooper Rabbit's arrival. Absolutely, it is. It's awful, you guys. Hey, Barb. On Tuesday at approximately 7:48, Trooper Rabbit spoke with the emergency department doctor, Mark Tenorowicz. We'll call him Dr. T. Dr. T stated that he tended to Dawson Clancy upon his arrival at the emergency department, and upon arrival, Dawson Clancy was in cardiac arrest. Dr. T stated that he had been told that Dawson had an exercise band tied around his neck prior to being transported to Plymouth. Dr. T stated Dawson had signs of strangulation, particularly I don't know how to say that word, but it's like when blood, it's a petechiae, Petechia on the side of his face. And I think that's like the busting of blood vessels, but I may be wrong. Somebody can correct me. Actually, you guys, I'll just Google it really quickly. PET. Just because I'd rather be accurate than just guess, especially with something like this. CHIAE. Those of you who are asking where the meme competition went, I'm just going to be really honest with you guys. There were some people who seemed to be a little bit offended by that, and that is never my intention. So for that reason, I decided, even though it seemed that they were not given accurate information about even the contest, the winner, things like that, but regardless, at the end of the day, it does. I will never leave something up that does hurt somebody, knowing that it hurts them, right? So I took it down, but I have it unlisted. So if you have the link, if you were already watching it or something, you can finish it. So yeah, Patika. Oh, thank you guys. Okay, well, here is what it means. It is pinpoint round spots that form on the skin. They're caused by bleeding, which makes the spots look red, brown, or purple. They often form in groups and may look like a rash. Patiki. Okay. Dawson had signs of strangulation, particularly this on the side of his face. Dr. T stated that Dawson had a bruise on his right knee and an old bruise on his right shin. Dr. T declared Dawson dead at approximately 7:28 the same date. On Tuesday, January 24th at approximately 10:02 p.m., Trooper Rabbit and Trooper Ashley Fiella of the Massachusetts State Police Crime Scene Services Section observed Cora Clancy in Emergency Department Room 3. Cora Clancy was located on a hospital bed. Cora Clancy was covered in a white blanket and had medical devices protruding from her mouth and left ankle. Cora Clancy also had automated external defibrillator pads on her chest and a neck collar around her neck. Cora also had gray and orange pajamas partially on her body, which had been partially cut off. Cora also had what appeared to be a bruise to the inside of the right bicep. Cora's hands were bagged by Trooper Fiella. Cora Clancy was digitally photographed by Trooper Fiella. Cora Clancy was later moved to the Plymouth morgue to be picked up by members of the medical examiner's office for a post-mortem examination. Oh, thank you, Tiso Corso. I know, this is hard. Petechia. Ha! Thank you. I've heard that said like that. Petechia. Hey, Christina. You guys, this is awful. We're talking about the very brutal murder of babies, and that's just, there is no other way to say it. I do not like censoring that kind of stuff, because this is the reality. When we give it little nicknames and we try, and I can see why, because if my channel was being threatened or something like that, I would potentially change that. So I can see why people do it. However, if we can, I think it is so important not to, just because this is the brutal reality of what's happened. So on Tuesday, January 24th at approximately 10:10, Trooper Rabbit spoke with Dr. Benjamin Kaufman. Dr. Kaufman tended to Callan Clancy upon his arrival at the hospital. Dr. Kaufman stated that he noted no specific injuries besides Callan being in cardiac arrest, and he was in critical condition prior to being med-flighted. On Tuesday, the same day at approximately 10:25, Trooper Rabbit spoke with Dr. Michael Snyder. Michael Snyder tended to Cora Clancy upon her arrival at the hospital. Dr. Snyder stated that Cora Clancy was in cardiac arrest upon arrival. Dr. Snyder stated that Cora Clancy had ecchymosis, bruising, popped blood vessels around her head, eyes, and neck. Dr. Snyder stated that Cora Clancy had bruising to her chest, that he stated most likely due to medical staff performing CPR. She was pronounced deceased at 7:28. At approximately 10:31, Lieutenant Lance Mello, Trooper Rabbit, and Trooper Fiella observed Dawson Clancy in Trauma 1. Dawson was located on a hospital bed. He was located beneath a white blanket with a green hospital Johnny draped across his midsection. Dawson had medical devices on his chest, leg, AED pads on his chest and back, and tubes protruding from his mouth. Dawson's hands were bagged by Lieutenant Mello and Trooper Fiella. Dawson was digitally photographed by Trooper Fiella. Dawson was later moved to the Plymouth morgue to be picked up by the medical examiner's office for a post-mortem examination. At approximately 10:05, Trooper Joshua McKelligan of the Plymouth County State Police Detective Unit interviewed Duxbury Police Officer Brian Josephine at the Duxbury Police Station. Officer Josephine stated that he works as a school resource officer during the day and was on an overtime shift from 1,600 until 2,000 hours. Officer Josephine stated at approximately 6:11, he received a radio dispatch stating all cruisers respond to 47 Summer Street for a female that possibly attempted suicide and had lacerations to her wrist and neck and jumped from a second-floor window. Officer Josephine stated he arrived at the front of the house at the same time as Duxbury Officer Hall. Officer Josephine stated when he arrived, he noticed two vehicles in the driveway before he went to the right of the home, and Officer Hall went to the left, trying to meet at the rear. Josephine stated Hall called him to the left of the home, and when he got there, he located Miss Clancy on her back with blood in her mouth. Officer Josephine stated as he was going to the left side of the home, Mr. Clancy was on the left side of the home and walked past him and entered the home. Officer Josephine stated as he was assessing Miss Clancy, police dispatch radioed something about the home's basement before he heard extremely loud screaming coming from the house. That's true, T. Socorso. With this one, too, it's just, there's a whole nother element of potential real mental illness. Officer Josephine stated he entered the home through the rear sliding door, which was already open. Officer Josephine stated he entered into the kitchen, then took a left to get to the staircase to the basement. Officer Josephine stated Mr. Clancy was still screaming. He went down the basement stairs and turned right. Officer Josephine stated the basement was divided into a left side and a right side. Officer Josephine stated Mr. Clancy came out of the far room and stated she killed the kids. Officer Josephine stated he entered the room, believed he observed the 2-year-old laying on his back unresponsive and was blue and purple in the face. He believed he saw bruising on the child's neck. Officer Josephine stated there was a blue resistance band next to the child's head. Officer Josephine stated he grabbed the child and ran him upstairs and out the front door onto an arriving ambulance. The officer then returned to the basement and turned left this time. He observed the family's 2 other children on the ground unresponsive, both having life-saving measures performed by EMS. He stated the rooms to the right in the basement appeared to be a weight room style room, and an office in the area to the left appeared to be a living room with couches. Officer Josephine was unsure of the layout of the basement because he was focused on the children. On Tuesday at approximately 10:23, Trooper McKelligan interviewed Officer Stephen Hall at the police station. Hall said he was working his shift, which was from 4 to midnight. He received a radio transmission stating all cruisers respond for attempted suicide. He arrived at 47 Summer Street, same time as Josephine. He said when he was approaching the house, he heard someone say, "Over here, over here." Officer Hall stated he ran to the left side of the house and saw Mr. Clancy standing by Miss Clancy, who was laying on the ground. Officer Hall stated Miss Clancy was laying on her back with her head toward the house and had lacerations to her wrist and neck. The lacerations were not currently bleeding. She was breathing but semi-conscious. Mr. Clancy then ran into the house. Officer Hall heard the radio say something about the basement and that they won't wake up. There was something wrong in the basement and they won't wake up. Officer Hall stated he heard loud screaming coming from the home. He entered the home through the rear door and entered the kitchen. He took his second left and proceeded down the basement stairs, and he saw the husband coming out of the rear room stating, oh my God," and was breathing heavily. Officer Hall stated he went into the back room and located what he believed was the oldest child. Officer Hall stated he ran up the stairs with Officer Josephine and transported the child to an arriving ambulance. Hey, Maria, good to see you. Not currently bleeding, right, KK? I noticed, Cray. I noticed that too. Hey, Sherry. Oh, thank you, Sherry. That's really sweet. I know, Abellis, this one's tough. But this is the thing, and we'll get into it later because I want to get through these quickly. I don't want to keep you guys too late. But she had a documented history of mental health issues. I mean, she was begging for help. She had just done an inpatient thing, but there's some arguments back and forth on that. Officer Hall said in the basement to the left was couches. When he went back into the house and re-entered the basement, EMS was performing life-saving measures on the family's 2 other children. He stated all the children were blue in the face. He stated the first child to get to the right of the basement had no shirt on and their face and chest were blue. He stated when he exited the house the last time, he observed the window on the second floor on the left rear of the home. The window frame had blood on it when looking from the ground. These are details we just didn't know at all. She was on a ton of medication. That's true. Hey, True Crime Snoopy. And Cray, you're right. Don't leave her with the kids. Mental illness is so misunderstood. Most of these people can't control what they're actually doing. I've lived around it my entire life. People think someone is just crazy. It makes me so mad. Baby D says, I'm sorry, I just can't. She killed her babies. I know. I understand that. I definitely understand that. These children, my God, they were just so absolutely precious. The world was robbed. You guys, I'm drinking this 0 sugar vitamin water, Triple X. Oh my God, they're so good. Okay. So at 10:40 on Tuesday, the 24th, 2023, Trooper McKelligan was interviewed police officer Vincent Cahill at the police station. He had the same shift, 4 to midnight. When he arrived on the scene, other officers and EMS were there. He opened the front door of the home for EMS to access the front of the home. Officer Cahill stated he then went downstairs to the basement where he observed Mr. Clancy pacing back and forth. Officer Cahill stated he then went to the left side of the basement and observed the female child on the ground. Officer Cahill stated he observed blood on the child's hand and blood on her face and nose. He then realized the youngest child, the infant, was lying behind him on the ground unresponsive. He stated he observed indents and trauma to the infant's neck. There was a blue exercise resistance band on the ground next to the child. Officer Cahill stated he then assisted in performing life-saving measures. He stated he was able to talk to Mr. Clancy, who stated he had gone out to pick up food and make another stop before returning home. He returned home and realized the home was quiet. Whoa. I love the touch screen. It makes it so convenient for documents and stuff. However, sometimes I'll do that on accident. So at 10:40, John Santos and Trooper Joseph Rabbit conducted an interview of Patrick Clancy in the family room of Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital in Plymouth. He was identified as the spouse and the father of the babies. This interview was audio recorded, and the following is a summary, not verbatim. Patrick Clancy stated he has been married to his wife Lindsay for 6 years. They have 3 children together. Patrick stated that at the end of September 2022, Lindsay stated she was beginning to get anxious prior to her return to work oh yes, I forgot. She was a hospital, or a labor and delivery nurse at the hospital. She was nervous about returning to work. Patrick stated Lindsay went to a psychiatrist and was prescribed Zoloft. Then she saw another psychiatrist. He stated Lindsay was also prescribed multiple other medications, including Valium, Trazodone, Ativan, Klonopin, Prozac, and Seroquel. She would take as many as 4 medications a day. However, she would take them as prescribed. Patrick stated Lindsay called the restaurant 3V in Plymouth at 5:15, the same date, for takeout food, and Patrick went to pick up the food. He also stopped at CVS and purchased laxatives for Cora. When he arrived back at the residence, he noticed the whole house was quiet. He stated he went upstairs to his bedroom and his bedroom door was locked. Patrick Clancy stated that after he got into his bedroom, he saw blood and the window open, so he ran downstairs and outside and located Lindsay Clancy on the ground. Patrick stated that when he located Lindsay, it appeared she had slit her wrists and possibly her neck. He stated he then called 911. He said that the police then arrived at the residence. He went into the basement where he located the kids, and he said all 3 children had workout bands tied around their necks. Patrick stated he was home all day with the exception of when he left to go get the food and medicine. He said Lindsay stated she had been having suicidal thoughts as well as thoughts of hurting the children. He clarified that she had communicated that she was feeling this way at the end of December. Patrick stated that Lindsay had reached out to her psychiatrist, Jennifer Tufts. Patrick stated that Lindsay had self-admitted herself to McLean Hospital from January 1st to the 5th. Patrick stated he and Lindsay had an amazing marriage and got along great. He further stated that they tell each other that they love each other 10 times a day. At the end of the interview, Mr. Clancy consented to have his face, clothing, and hands digitally photographed. So in December, she said, I'm having thoughts of hurting myself and my children. She is a real nurse, cray, yes. Hey, Humanimal. Patrick knew it but wanted a break. Some drive time on his own. Food can be delivered. And that's true. That's interesting, Humanimal. So Trooper Andrew Chiachio was able to review Apple Maps and calculate travel times. He said it's 3 minutes to travel from their house to CVS and 8 minutes from CVS to the restaurant and 9 minutes from the restaurant to the house. On Tuesday at 9:09, the police lieutenant Louis Chubb and Andrew Chiachio visited the restaurant. During the course of the investigation, they learned Patrick entered to pick up food after leaving his house that night. They spoke with the manager who provided them with surveillance, and this surveillance shows Patrick go to the front door, glances at a takeout table, wait in line for a brief moment, looks at his cell phone, pays for his order at 17:55, so 5:55. He paid with American Express card. They got the receipt for that. They did see the video, but they had to get a copy of it emailed Then they visited the CVS to retrieve video. They did provide them with access to the surveillance system. They confirmed the time and date on the video was accurate. The video shows Patrick enter CVS. He walks down aisle 20. This is where they keep kids' meds. He only spends a few minutes there before exiting the aisle and back toward the registers. As he does this, just prior to exiting the camera frame, Patrick appears to be utilizing his cellular phone. He arrives at the register at 5:36, no longer utilizing his phone. There are no outside cameras, but Mrs. Krause mentioned to us a female had called the store asking if they had children's laxative prior to Patrick entering the store. Let's see. Kyle Carney. Mr. Carney. Okay, so this is a friend of Patrick's that they interviewed on Tuesday, January 24th at 10:50. That's kind of interesting. Hey, Chris. K-Braze, yes, I believe so, but I'm not seeing that like confirmed. So they interview Kyle Carney. Mr. Carney says he met Pat in college and they've been friends for 10 years. He states they speak just about every day, and he actually spoke with Pat earlier this morning in a group text. Mr. Carney stated that the group text was with other friends and primarily discussed work. Mr. Carney informed me that Pat currently works for Microsoft while he works in the financial sector. Mr. Carney stated that when he spoke to Pat earlier in the day, he seemed to be his normal self. Mr. Carney informed me that on Sunday, January 22nd, Pat, Lindsay, and two of the older children had visited his house for dinner. While there, Lindsay seemed fairly normal, mostly quiet while on her phone and keeping to herself. He was actually surprised she was there due to Pat's statements about her health, and he didn't know she was coming that night. He stated that overall everything seemed perfectly normal, and this was the first time they had seen Lindsay in a couple months. When asked why they had not seen Lindsay for such an extended period of time, Mr. Carney stated that Lindsay was having medical issues. Trooper Milo then asked him to expand on these issues, and Pat told him that Lindsay was about to go back to work and was having anxiety. She was prescribed medications, which in Pat's opinion were not working. Pat went on to tell him that Lindsay was prescribed more medication and thought she was now addicted to benzos. Pat also told Mr. Carney that Lindsay was having issues with her medication and she was mostly anxious and not depressed. Pat felt as if Lindsay was not overly anxious and the anxiety level was normal and not severe. According to Pat, Lindsay had joked about talking to a therapist about her anxiety. Well, to be fair, I mean, Pat's not going to know how much anxiety Lindsay has. But, hey, Roxanne. She did. I mean, she did. And reaching out and being honest, that would have to be hard, right? Can you imagine telling your doctor, I'm thinking about killing my babies? I mean, my God. Sorry, you guys. Mr. Carney stated that Pat mentioned Lindsay was suffering from withdrawals from benzos approximately a month and a half ago. And that is when he began to open up to Mr. Carney and his wife, Sarah. Pat told Mr. Carney that he was really concerned about the withdrawals and said Lindsay had the worst side effects possible. She was also prescribed more medication for sleeping. When asked if Lindsay had any close friends in the area, Mr. Carney said besides local mother groups, she did not have many friends. Due to this, Mr. Carney informed me that he, along with his wife, are going to start to engage one-on-one with Lindsay in the near future. He also stated Lindsay's family was just there to visit her. His wife also went to college with Pat, and their kids go to the same daycare. It was during one of these daycare drop-offs that Pat looked as though he was having a rough morning, and he opened up to Mrs. Carney. Pat had communication via text messages with Mrs. Carney January 5th in regards to Lindsay and the treatment and medication she was receiving. Mr. Carney stated that Pat felt as if he needed to get more involved with her treatment due to the fact that Lindsay was going by herself to a psychiatrist for a while, and he felt that she was prescribed too many medications. Mr. Carney informed me that Pat never voiced concern of Lindsay hurting herself. The interview was terminated at this time. On Wednesday, January 25th, Trooper McKelligan got a search warrant for the home. It was issued, and this is when they find this tablet. So investigators are aware that both Pat and Lindsay have access to the tablet prior to the murders. Investigators are also aware Lindsay used her cell phone to conduct internet searches, utilize notes, social media applications. Located on the nightstand directly below the open window was a large blood-covered kitchen knife. This knife was secured by the police crime scene services. Located in the basement was a brown notebook. Located in the kitchen cabinet was a separate multicolored notebook. In both notebooks, Miss Clancy listed medications she was taking and at times suicidal expressions and thoughts. In these notebooks, Miss Clancy also expresses that she confides in friends, one named Sue, but does not list last names in the notebooks. Investigators are also aware that Miss Clancy used her cellular telephone and her journal to document her mental state and her feelings about her children, in addition to keeping track of her meds and researching ways to kill, which means that is reasonable to conclude that Miss Clancy would have used all formats and tools available to her, including a tablet. So hold on a minute. Let's look at this last sentence. We are not even close to halfway through, you guys, and I'm thinking we might have to do this in 2 parts, but we'll see. But the last sentence, investigators are also aware Miss Clancy used her cellular telephone to journal to document her mental state and her feelings about her kids, in addition to keeping track of medications and researching ways to kill. Oh, Adrian, girl, I know. I went through benzo withdrawal too, and I actually had a seizure from benzo withdrawal. I'm so thankful to be off that shit. I would never touch one again, but there was a time in my life where I thought I wouldn't live without them. And that I was just, when I would hear people that had been on them and got off them, I just, I'm different. It's just, I was okay with that fact. It was really tough. During that withdrawal, I literally was on my hands and knees begging not to wake up. And that is sad. Thank God that didn't happen, but it was very tough. So I can see how someone who's in post that. So having said that, it doesn't really, it's not like a huge jump to someone who's already having postpartum depression, and then they're in benzo withdrawal, becoming suicidal. And I'm just talking about suicidal. Meds can make you worse, sometimes not better, especially when you're over-medicated. That is so true, Adrian. This woman was a nurse. There's no way she didn't understand the danger of starting and stopping all those meds like that. Hey, Corky. So let's see. On Wednesday, January 25th, Trooper Frias attended the autopsies of Cora Clancy and Dawson Clancy. And they observed the following trauma to Cora and Dawson. Just a little trigger warning, you guys. This is, obviously not going to be great to hear, and I'm sorry. Trying to light a cigarette. I need a daggone cigarette for this. It's stressful to read. Oh my gosh. Okay. So they observed the following injuries or following trauma to Cora and Dawson. Small bruising on both sides of both legs. Small bruising to the back of the right leg, but not present on Cora. Small bruising on the right arm. Ligature around the neck. Redness of the head. Petechia, I forget how to say that, in the face, also inside the eyelids, also inside the upper and lower lip, the petechia, I'll forget how I know I said it right that one time, but I've lost it, you guys. I'm sorry. Heavy lungs. Wonder what that means. Skeleton x-rays were negative for trauma. No evidence of blunt force trauma. Brain bleeds and or skull fractures. No soft tissue damage in back. Neck muscles are negative for hemorrhaging. Hyoid intact. And eyes did have hemorrhaging plus optic nerve. The neatest smoke emojis. Petechia. Thank you, Amelia. Adriana, I'd like to. Oh, thank you, 22. Actually, my friend passed away from benzo withdrawal, and you're right. People don't realize that. She was only 30 years old, and she was taking like 15 to 20 Xanaxes a day. And she actually had been off of them for like a week and a half, cold turkey, and her heart stopped. She had cardiac arrest, and there was nothing in her system. Oh my God, Pinche Becky. I'm so glad you're okay. Petechia. It is awful. And it was so sad because before her heart stopped, she was having like serious delusions from the withdrawal. And she was like, her grandpa came and brought her a plate of food, and she thought she was like in the war, and she wouldn't come out. And she was like, Grandpa, don't let him see you. Don't let him see you. She's like, here. She cut the screen of her window, and he gave her dinner through the window because she was so scared. It was horrific. It was horrible. Oh, Pinche Becky, that's awesome. Okay. Not to go into all of that, but yeah, they are deadly, and people don't realize that. I think that benzos really were not meant to be so widely prescribed when they were created. I think actually I've heard they were created as like an end of life thing at first. And I know they can be helpful to some people. So I think it just depends. So on Wednesday, January 28th, Trooper McDonald received an arrest warrant for Lindsay with the 8 counts of the following charges: murder, strangulation, assault and battery, dangerous weapon. The criminal complaint was issued by the district clerk, Adam Baylor, and the affidavit has been digitally downloaded into the case file. So then they go to the women's hospital to execute a search warrant. And they're escorted to Tower Floor 8, Room 8C58 by security guard Noah Evangelista. Upon arrival at the room of Lindsay Clancy, Trooper McDonald met with Officer Cam Daly of Duxbury Police Department. He briefed registered nurse Meg Collins and Lieutenant Louis Cherubino of the Brigham and Women's Hospital security staff, and Trooper McDonald provided a copy of the search warrant for the hospital staff records. The search warrant execution began at 6:21. Trooper Foley began to digitally document Lindsay Clancy's injuries. During the execution of the warrant, registered nurse Meg Collins and nurse Rochelle Amity assisted in pointing out the injuries and removing bandages for the police to successfully document and photograph them. During this time, they observed the following. Now, this I want to know because we all wondered exactly what happened. They do help with alcohol withdrawal, but it can easily become a new addiction. Yep, I've heard and seen that some too. Okay, we have right wrist, multiple lacerations from a sharp object. Right hand, possible scrapes on the back side of hand around the knuckles. Left wrist, multiple lacerations from a sharp object, and also the scratches on the back side of the hand and knuckles. Left bicep, 2 bruises. The neck, multiple lacerations to the left and right side of the neck, deep cut on the right side of the neck. Left leg, possible light bruising to the thigh. Right leg, possible light bruising to the thigh. Trooper McDonald was unable to observe any trauma to the back of Lindsay because of a spinal cord injury. Registered nurse Rochelle Amity advised Trooper McDonald she was the original nurse for Lindsay when the patient arrived at the hospital. She stated she did not witness any trauma to the back of Lindsay. She further explained that at approximately 3:30, Lindsay became unresponsive and was worked on by hospital staff and was considered stable by 4:30. Nurse Rachel Amity advised Trooper McDonald that Lindsay was unconscious at the time and unable to hear their conversations. Once the digital documentation was complete, Massachusetts State Police chemist Maureen Hartnett conducted external swabs from the left-hand fingernails and right-hand fingernails. Then Nurse Megan Collins provides them with a list of injuries that were documented to Lindsay by hospital staff. So C1, burst fracture, bilateral non-displaced C4 lamina fractures, T5 and 6 comminuted tricolumnar fracture with 14 millimeter T5-6 anterolisthesis with multiple osseous fragments within the canal, which is largely obliterated. So, I absolutely do not even know how to say half of these words or what they mean. But I know that they're different parts of the spine. T4, there were more fractures and malalignment of the R T5 through 7. The L T6 through 8, more fractures and malalignment of the R T5 through 7. Again, then we have the left T7 through 8 costovertebral junctions. There was hemorrhage tracking into upper retroperitoneum from caudal posterior mediastinum and thoracic paraspinal soft tissues, acute mildly displaced, mildly comminuted FX of spinous process T4, small BI pneumothoracis, right first rib fracture and superficial laceration to the anterior neck, and bilateral wrist with associated thyroid edema. Superficial laceration to the neck and bilateral wrist. So this is part of it. The cuts were not very deep. No, Michelle. So Lindsay Clancy was a registered nurse, mother of 3 kids out of Boston, was also married, and she was having not post-traumatic stress. Oh gosh, why is my brain doing that? Postpartum depression, except she had postpartum psychosis. I do believe, but regardless, she had been asking for help. She had checked herself into a hospital. She was on numerous medications, but one day she asked her husband to go get food and medication, and while he was gone, she took the life of her kids, 3 kids, and then jumped out of a window after superficially cutting her wrist and neck. So there, I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts. I'll just continue reading. Basically, a bunch of spine fractures from the neck down. It's amazing. She survived all that. I don't know, Humanimal. I remember when it happened. I would have to dig a little deeper to see that definitively, because I remember when it happened, there was a big talk about the difference between the two. But I don't know. And also, there's a lot of argument on both sides as far as what she did, how she handled it. She did check herself in, but she only stayed a couple of days. Let's look and see. I feel like her attorney did come out and say that it was PPP, or PPP, but let's see. Lindsay Clancy, postpartum psychosis. That's the first thing that comes up when you take her name. So NBC News has a quote that said he previously has said Clancy had postpartum depression and possibly postpartum psychosis. She may have a medical expert says the defense's claim that Lindsay may have suffered. So the defense did claim that. Now, I don't know. They were, oh gosh, by all accounts, she was said to be an amazing mom. I'm hoping this one has that picture I wanted to show you guys, but I don't know. Maybe not. I'll just do it like this if I can, and we'll get right back to the documents. Because, like, even though we might have to do it in two, I'm so interested, it's going to be really hard to stop. So here are just a few pictures of her, and look at that baby right there. Oh my God Almighty. She's so precious. Like, I don't know. They're such a blessing. I mean, that's what life is all about. I seriously, I don't know. There they are. There's Lindsay and the kids out for a bike ride. By 7 o'clock on the 25th, the search warrant was completed. On Sunday, January 29th, Trooper Rabbit attended the autopsy of Callan Clancy. The autopsy was conducted by Dr. Kimberly Springer with the assistance of OCME, the medical examiner's technician, Moss Glader. The autopsy was digitally photographed. Callan Clancy was observed in a white body bag on top of an autopsy table. Callan Clancy was dressed in a diaper and a gray and white blanket. Callan had medical devices and tubes attached to his mouth, nose, and legs. Callan Clancy had abrasions to both sides of his neck. Dr. Springer noted abrasions to Callan's neck and petechia all over his face. Dr. Springer stated that she did not find any hemorrhage to his neck during the autopsy. She stated she collected his eyes and brain for further analysis by medical staff. The final cause and manner of his death is currently pending further analysis. Based on my training and experience and that of other officers assigned to this case, I know that tablets are widely used, with, I'm not going to read through all of this, basically that lots of people use their tablets to call people, message people, do all kinds of things like that, save files, and that it can be used to either corroborate or discount the user's statements. Help establish a timeline. Tablets today may be considered handheld computers. They can also be used to text, send emails, and view the internet. Information typically contained on tablets that may be useful to police would be the tablet number, serial number, call history, contact list, SMS, MMS, voicemail, email, internet browser, instant messages, saved and deleted digital images and files. This could help coordinate alibis, conceal evidence of a crime, all of those kind of things. Basically why they need it. Conclusion. As a result of the above investigation and the collective opinions of all investigators involved, I believe that probable cause is set forth above detailing that Cora, Dawson, and Callan were the victims of murder, strangulation, and assault and battery with a dangerous weapon. Therefore, as I stated above, I further believe that probable cause of the above stated murder, along with the attempted suicide, exist and may be found within digital components within one tablet of a blue case that was visible model number K72LLA left on the kitchen counter near the sink at their home in Duxbury. So they list out why they believe that this would have evidence on it. And they believe that, number one, because it was found. Number two, because she used notebooks, which were discovered during the search warrant, to log her expressions and thoughts, and could possibly use a tablet for a more comprehensive log. They could use this tablet. Investigators could use this tablet believed to belong to Lindsay in order to obtain her contact list and messages to identify Sue and other friends she confides in. They want to see what she Googles. It is known to me and other investigators that individuals will use social media text and notes to explain crimes they have committed or will commit, and all that kind of stuff. We don't need to read through all of that because there's still quite a lot more, and I need to see what we need to look at. So attachment A is what we just went through. Commonwealth's motion to seal and impound. So they request that the following materials be sealed and impounded until further order, which is the application for the search warrant and all of that. I guess it was just unsealed is why we're looking at it now. The Commonwealth is concerned that evidence may be intentionally destroyed if potential suspects were to have access to this information. So here's an order that the application for the warrant, its attachments, exhibits, and addenda, the accompanying affidavit submitted in support of said application for the warrant, attachments, exhibits, and addenda, as well as related paperwork subject to impoundment, including the motion to impound and supporting affidavit, be impounded and sealed. So this is when it was sealed, which was signed March 16th of this year. Okay. Now the DA hereby deposes and states the following. They are the DA, the assistant DA. They are assisting in this homicide investigation. It's active and ongoing. The warrant affidavit contains information as to what steps police have taken, are currently taken, and may undertake in the future. If they believe if the suspects were to have the information in this warrant, they could start to conceal information. And then she signs it. Now here's a search warrant for, let's see, Pink Apple iPhone. Now, it might go through the same information. Let's look and see. Attachment A. So this is the search warrant for the Pink Apple iPhone. Daniel Lawler is who is authoring this. He's looking for any and all data relative to this crime and the premeditation of it. They want to conduct a forensic search of one Pink Apple iPhone with no identifiable serial number. I have not included each and every known fact. The foregoing facts are based on his personal experience in this investigation. Okay, so he says on Tuesday, January 24th, police dispatched all cruisers to the home for attempted suicide where Lindsay had jumped out of the window and all of that stuff. Located with Miss Clancy was her husband, the 911 caller. All the details of where the kids were and that kind of stuff. The doctors, let's see, is this word for word what we just read? I think that Yes, this is word for word what we just read. So I'll just read this one paragraph so you'll remember where it was at, and you guys, I'll drop the link again so you can read the documents yourself. But on Tuesday, January 24th, Trooper Rabber and Ashley Fiella of the Massachusetts State Police Crime Scene Services Section observed, my Lord, what a name, Cora in emergency room 3. She was in a hospital bed. They talk about the medical devices in her mouth, her gray and orange pajamas, which had been partially cut off, the bruise on the inside of the right bicep. We know Trooper Fiella bagged her hands. So we went through all of this. Sometimes they'll do that on these warrants. Yeah, so this is just the same exact thing we just read with the tablet, with the video, Patrick entering the restaurant, the time that he entered, all of that stuff. So let's keep going and see if there's anything else. So this iPhone was found in the second floor dresser in the front left bedroom. They said the pink Apple iPhone is currently in evidence. The belief is based on the above investigation, including Miss Krause, the CVS employee, mentioned to investigators a female called the store asking if they had children's laxative prior to Patrick entering the store. Patrick said Lindsay called the restaurant and ordered the food at 5:15. It is the belief of investigators that Lindsay called CVS and 3V in order to facilitate Mr. Clancy leaving the house for an extended period of time so she could commit these crimes. Hey, Susan. A pink Apple iPhone believed to be Lindsay's was located in the second floor, where it appeared that she cut her wrist before jumping out of the window. She does use notebooks, which were discovered in the search warrant. They could use her phone to obtain her contact list and text messages, her Google searches, social media history, and all of that we've read already. This is where they sealed the warrant. They don't want people, they didn't want them to know what they were doing. Anybody, the public, Lindsay, they mainly say they don't want suspects to know and then therefore conceal evidence and that kind of thing. Now, this is where they went ahead and sealed it. Now, here's another search warrant. Which one is this one for? Her laptop. It's going to be very similar. There may be little details that are different, so we will just scroll through. Just to see if there are any little differences, because with the phone, there were a couple of, specifically where they list what they're looking for. So the investigation history, we've already read through that. That was what we read through before. Let's get to. Thank you guys for being here, by the way. And I'm sorry I can't see the comments while I'm scrolling through all this. We go through all of her injuries, those things. Based on my training and experience, all a computer user needs to do in order to use email is open an email account with one of the myriad of companies that provide email services. Oh my gosh. Once the account is set up, the user can choose the name of this email address, which does not have to match or even relate to identifying information of the user. Nevertheless, oftentimes email messages themselves contain information that either directly or indirectly identifies the composer of the email message. Then they talk about Facebook. They talk about Facebook users, how they can do friend requests and all of that. You guys know how to use Facebook. I don't need to tell you all of that, but Then they talk about Google, Gmail, Google Maps, Google Hangouts, Google Drive, Google Docs, Google Calendar, and everything that could be there. They have to request to allow a computer forensics expert to execute the search of the computer system. I mean, they make sure they get every single detail. I would love to see the warrants in the Koberger case like this, like what they got. Or, well, we did see some of them, but they didn't let us see the background history like this, in those. The laptop was located in a basement office within the residence. They found it during the search warrant. Lindsay uses paper notebooks and her cell phone. It is known to me and other investigators individuals will use computers to Google or research means to commit a murder. And this one, they're after another laptop. This closet and laptop computer were accessible by either Patrick Clancy or Lindsay Clancy. Which we don't need to go through all of the same stuff all over again. It was located in the first floor closet during the search warrant as well. Here is a search warrant for an HP Pavilion laptop computer. Wow. Okay. All the same stuff. We're just about done, you guys. This was located in a basement office. Here's another one for a search warrant for clothing, traces of evidence, which may be in the form of blood, saliva, skin, hair, fibers, fingerprints, palm prints, and shoe prints. Okay. The following is the inventory of property taken pursuant to this warrant. Number 1, 3 wood shingles from the exterior rear of the house and 3 swabs from wood shingles and window frame. Oh, Crumb Sleuthin', thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And then Humanimal. Oh, thank you. I appreciate you and I appreciate that so much. You guys rock. Can the mods drop their channels? I think they're both in the Nightbot. But I feel like I tried Humanimals the other day and it didn't work. Oh, really, Kate? Oh, thank you, Delana. Thank all you guys. I feel bad for Andrea Yates. She had it bad. This is a knockoff. Mass shooting, 3 shooter, 2 were caught. Oh, wow. So multiple people. That's interesting. Oh, David's here. How are you doing? Good to see you. I'm sure Dad will never forgive himself for leaving. Oh, hey, Search and Rescue. Make sure you guys that came in late rewind back. Oh, thanks, T. Corso. Thank you. That's sweet. I'm curious to know what it is you're reluctant to say. I feel you have thoughts that you're holding back. What are they? Yes, you are Humanimal. Yes, you are. You're brilliant. Seriously, I love your brain. I don't know, honestly, Patricia. I want to be really careful with this one, but I just don't know. I think that, well, it's really interesting. They're superficial wounds. Just because she searches for how to kill someone, which we read in these documents, and we don't really get any details of that. There's a picture of the house. I don't think that means much because she was, I don't know. I don't know what it's like to have thoughts of wanting to kill other people, but she was obviously having that because she told her husband and her family. And, I don't know. I think with this one, it's just so sensitive. And yeah. And it's really crazy. Like when you guys know when you've been waiting for like details on something like this and then you finally get some of them, it's almost hard to wrap your mind around it. Okay, this is a search warrant. What the heck? This looks a little different. Let me see what this is. This is for the exterior shingles. Okay. Andrew Chiachio gives all of his info. Okay, so it's again the same investigation history. I was curious if it would be different. I just think, though, I mean, what do you guys think about her asking him to go, setting this up so she had the time alone and stuff like that? I think they had been home together all day. He had been working from home to be with her, and I feel like part of me wants to say, and I hate to say this, but if there was truly some sort of psychosis going on, would she even care about him being there? He was working. So I don't know. That I feel like that takes a lot of it just takes a lot of thought to think about that. If you're in like psychosis, to think about getting this person away, I feel like you would just, yeah, I don't know. That part to me doesn't really make a lot of sense. Then we have Patrick's friend stepping forward. She had just been over there. But I feel like you could probably hide these thoughts very well. Nobody knows what's in somebody else's head, right? And people sometimes can put on a really good show, a really good front. So that's the end of it, you guys. Yes, we got through it all. Let's just chat for a few minutes. I had PPD with all 4 of my kids and never thought about hurting them, but lots of thoughts about myself. Horrible place to be. That's why I'll be going into that field as a nurse practitioner. That's awesome, Marlene, and I'm sorry you had to go through that. I do believe she set this up. Yeah, me too. The math ain't mathin'. Oh, you will think of every scenario, believe me. After staying in a treatment facility, maybe she wanted to do something to put herself in a place like that permanently. I don't know, sounds extreme, but being a mom and RN is a lot to handle. It is a lot to handle, but the sad thing is I don't know. Do you like jumping from a 2-story window? I wouldn't necessarily think that would kill me. And they were just surface, they were not deep wounds, but her injuries are so severe. I wonder if she jumped out head first or something. But the sad part is no matter what, even if she was completely delusional and it was a mix of a cocktail from the doctors and all this stuff, at the end of the day, 3 babies were taken from this world. God only knows what they would have done. And this woman who was supposedly this excellent nurse, mother, friend, no one had a bad word to say about her. She'll never walk again. They were saying that she's paralyzed for life. Agree. I have lived with psychosis for years in the past, so I have very specific ideas about Lindsay. See, I have a family member who not too long ago was going through some mental health issues, and they had bipolar but with psychosis. So they would get super manic after a couple days of being up. I mean, they were saying, like, they were hearing voices and they thought it was God. And they would say, he's telling me to do this. He's telling me to do that. He told me to put her in the front seat without a seatbelt or a car seat and drive across the 4 lane with my eyes closed. So I did it. Like things like very dangerous things like that. But there was no turning it off. She couldn't have pretended to be okay and send us all away. She was just, it was very blatant and in your face. However, everybody's different, that's just the truth with everything in life, with every health condition, every mental health condition, even, cancer patients, they'll tell you if you start a treatment or something, it's going to be individual to you. It's going to, I don't know, just because everybody can, it's slightly different. The fact she was a labor and delivery nurse is mind-boggling. She knew there were resources and how to get them. Right. She rushed to get it done during the window she had where her husband couldn't stop her. Ooh, I love your picture. You're so cute. Getting leave shows intent and motive, in my opinion. If that's the truth, if it's not, and she really did snap, well, yeah, awful too. Well, this search warrant claims 1, she was 2, we know that she was searching for places for him to medicine, but she was also checking Google Maps to see exactly how long it was like that. I remember that from when this first came out. There's a documentary about PPP. Ooh, I'd like to see that. For me, I think, what's it called, KK? I think she was suffering and I have compassion. That's okay, Kat. See, don't be sorry. So, I don't know. Because we have the other side of it where she was asking for help. She was seeing doctors and trying medicine changes, journaling about her mental health, checking herself into hospitals. And that shows that she was trying, right? So, and imagine how hard that would be. Like I said earlier, how do you tell your doctor you're thinking about killing yourself and your babies? So I don't know. It's really tough. I think this is getting controversial. Thank you. Good. I 22. I think. Yeah. Postpartum depression struggle is real. I have seen someone in full-blown mania and psychosis, and it's terrifying. It is. It absolutely is. Yep. That's so true. It may sound harsh, but G is for the mother to favor her own survival and thus have at least a chance of breeding under more favorable circumstances. Sounds like she landed on her tailbone and pushed the vertebrae upwards and crashing into. There would have severe head injury or broken leg if she landed on feet. That's actually, you're right. That's a good point because they didn't note any other injuries besides the spine. The paralyzation. I don't know, Emily. Let me see. We'll do a quick search and then I'm going to let you guys go. So, yeah, I'm trying to approach this with sensitivity, but also at the end of the day, I don't want to be dishonest with you guys. So, I don't know. Okay. The Boston Globe has an article from these court documents being dropped. Let's see because I like to look at the local news sometimes. Including an allegation she had researched ways to kill on her cell phone. So they're talking about these papers we just read. Her lawyer, Kevin Reddington, hasn't responded this week to requests for comment on the allegation that Clancy looked into ways to kill on her phone. But if it's postpartum psychosis, is that different from regular psychosis? Could that look like this, like normal, like covering it up? I mean, you can have mental health issues and still have your intelligence, right? So I don't know. Okay, so here we go. Below are some additional details from the filings unsealed this week. Clancy, who has remained hospitalized since the killings, has a remote Plymouth Superior Court arrangement scheduled for Thursday morning. Wow, cannot wait for that. From Tewksbury Hospital, where she's being treated for injuries she suffered after jumping out a window of her home following the slayings. Reddington has said she's currently paralyzed from the waist down. Let's click on that. Oh, you guys couldn't see it, could you? So this is what I was reading. And then I clicked on this hyperlink where her lawyer comments she's currently paralyzed from the waist down. And let's see, this was updated May 4th. Really, I may not be able to read it. No. Oh, shoot. Okay. Lindsay Clancy, the Duxbury woman who killed her 3 children in the family's home and tried to kill herself, remains paralyzed from the waist down, Kevin Reddington, her defense attorney, said. She will be forever, he said, citing medical records and his discussions with doctors. Clancy is at a Tewksbury hospital in the care of the State Department of Mental Health after she was deemed by clinicians to be in long-term psychiatric care as well as medical care. So her lawyer did a telephone interview in May. The DA's office alleges she carefully plotted to kill her children, talking about her, sending him away to get the food and stuff. Reddington, the attorney, also said the defense has retained a national expert on parents who kill their children, Dr. Philip Resnick, a psychiatry professor at Case Western Reserve University, as well as a psychologist, Paul Ziesel, to examine Clancy's mental health. Reddington said he's looking into whether Clancy can raise a defense of diminished capacity. She was arraigned in her bed. Now, I remember watching that. Do you guys remember that? She cried during it. She was looking down. We could see her face. She had a mask on. But at one point, she did have a tear. And I guess, I don't know. Yeah, she had a tissue, I believe. Reddington said she was suffering postpartum depression or psychosis and had been improperly prescribed multiple medications for anxiety, mood disorder, and psychosis. So, because, let's see, at Reddington's request, the DA has authorized him to spend as much as $17,000 for these 2 professionals. Her defense team was funded by the parents, but they're of modest means, and now she will likely need to use help from the court. They're pretty much depleting everything they have to try and help her. Let's see what the GoFundMe's raised. At this time, it was $1 million for Patrick and the family. So $1,075,000. The last donation was 25 days ago. Okay. Wow, you guys. Let me drop the links to the documents again, just in case any of you guys want to read through them yourself. And thank you guys for being here so late and on late notice. I really appreciate it. Here are the documents. Yeah. I wonder if more could have been going on in the marriage. Maybe she felt unsupported by her husband. Maybe there was talk of divorce. The superficial cuts are sus, but the window jump is mind-blowing. Yes. When you're withdrawing from prescribed medication and alcohol, you want the pain to just stop. I know what you mean, Pinche Becky. Wouldn't be surprised if insurance didn't kick her out before she was ready. My opinion is if she really had a mental episode, she needs to be in a facility for a very long time. I think that both are true. She was planning it because of what she was going through in her mind. No, don't let us go. You guys. Oh, I won't get into details because the gins aren't here, but the it's been such a pain in the butt with these things, getting these calls and these jail records. I mean, with as expensive as it is, you'd think they could at least do it right and quickly, because the calls and the jail record together that we're waiting on this week were $1,000. Oh God, I just oh, Lucky Shot, I'm so sorry to hear that. $80+ shot. Oh my God. K-Braze, I think everybody has some kind of mental health thing. Oh, you're welcome, Emily. That makes her responsible because she knew it was wrong. I wonder what exactly the law is in that state. Kate, that's possible. I struggle with depression. I think that we all have some kind of mental health issue, right? Like, surely every human has felt some sort of anxiety. I don't know. I think that some just have it more than others. Oh, that's awesome. Tisa Corso. I love that. All right, you guys. It has been such a long day. Hey, Mara. I don't want you guys to go, but I'll see you soon because we have lots we're working on, and we are in the process of receiving it. So, hey, Tree Baby Tennessee. You guys rock, though. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, Lisa, I'm glad that you guys are interested too, because it was late, but like I said, I couldn't not read through it. And then once I started, even though at points I was like, how far should I go? Should I just keep it brief tonight and do a part 2? No, I needed to see it all right now. I can't wait. So thank you guys for also being interested. Why didn't you have any long-term friends? Red flag. All right, you guys. Thank you to everyone for being here. Let me drop Punksy's link. Sometimes I forget about her channel because she hasn't been posting, but she's gonna get back to it. Hey, KPM. All right, everyone. Thank you for being here. Make sure that if you came in late, scroll back to the beginning. Hey, Mia. And I will see you all tomorrow. I love and appreciate you guys so much. I really do. And I hope you have a great night. Bye.